Welcome back, everybody, to Conversation with Carroll. This is Nolan Carroll, and I'm here with one of my former teammates from the Miami Dolphins, his second-round pick, Jamar Taylor. Played 9 years in the NFL, and he's doing many interesting things since post-retirement, which I think is something I'm always talking about, is giving back to the community and using those tools that you learned in the game and being able to share that with others, because the more people we can bring up, obviously that helps us out, and then it helps them in their communities, wherever they decide to go, wherever life takes them. So, Jamar, want to introduce you, buddy. I appreciate you coming on. It's been a while. I love what you're doing. And first, I just kind of want to get into your playing history. Obviously, you played for almost a decade in the league, which is very difficult to do. But along the way, I'm all about mindset. And along the way, you had injuries, and you sustained multiple injuries. And I was the same way. And when you have an injury, when you have a setback, a lot of times you dip back into a place, or you kind of make excuses about the injuries. But you're somebody that anytime you had an injury, like an ACL, a shoulder, or a groin, you'd always find a way to come back. Your mentality that I would see you post online was very resilient, and I respect that about you, because no matter what it was, you're always willing to overcome that. So just talk to me a little bit about adversity and the mentality that you need to have to push through to ultimately get to the other side.
Yeah, no, first and foremost, thank you. Thank you for the opportunity even to come on and share my story and to talk to you, man. Obviously, mad respect for you. I wish I was in my other room. I still got the jersey. I got a whole DB wall, right? Go. So it's right up there, man, the Eagles jersey. But obviously, you know how much, you and some of the other guys on the team in Miami, man, meant to me. Like you said, injuries came early for me, right? A lot of people don't know this, but going into the combine, when I was training, I had a hernia, right? So I was able to go out, right? Pete Bomarito was able to get me right just enough to still run what I needed to run, right? And still maximize, right, my talents, showcase my talents. But it's a learning process, right? I think as a young athlete, when you have so much success, right? I wasn't highly recruited, but I went to a great school, right? One where I would take the guys I was on that team with at Boise against anybody, right? And so because of the brotherhood, because of the experience, right? And then be able to go from Boise to be a second round pick, right? That's all God. I could take no credit for that, right? So it was, when I first got to Miami and I was hurt, it was me understanding hey, look, or getting to understand hey, look, God put you in this position for a reason, right? And I would say the biggest thing I've always told myself is just perseverance, right? It's not going to be easy, right? I think, when I first got hurt, it was a shell shock, right? I was competing against you. We had Dimitri Patterson, right? We had Will, we had Brent. So I'm like, man, these some guys, RJ, right? And so this is a lineup, right? First time I've been around basically all stars. And, I remember my mentality back then was just I got to get it, right? I got to get it, right? It was back to almost like that freshman coming in, okay, well, they brought me and Will in together. Somebody got to play, right? I don't know. Somebody, somebody has to play. And it was I wanted to push, but I think also having you guys to be hey, look, take care of your body, right? And showing me that it is a business, right? And hey, look, you don't take care of yourself, they're going to get rid of you. Yeah. And so it had me switch my mindset, bro, all in all, in a sense, because I did realize early in Miami, it was a business, right? Joe Phil been walking by me, right? People don't even notice before the Hall of Fame game. He's you can't stay in PT, right? You've never been through anything. You don't have mental toughness, right? So I'm dang, all right, okay, this is a business, right? But having guys like you guys have me locked back in and basically drown out the noise. It was okay, look, man, all I can do every day is come in here, put my best foot forward, right? I know I'm not moving the same as I used to right now, but eventually it'll come together, right? And just start calculating little wins, right? And I would give a lot of that credit to not only you guys, but my parents, right? Grew up in a household, mom worked 3 jobs, right? It wasn't easy, right? Dad worked 2. So it was constant. I was always at my grandma's house with my cousins, right? And so it was they've taught me how to work hard. They taught me how to lock in. They taught me how to focus, right? And so I just always been that way, right? It was great to hear from guys like you guys to kind of, when it did get rough, the waters got rough, it kind of gave me a little peace, right? But then having my mom and my dad to where when I went back home by myself, right, I'm far away from the West Coast, like I was P10, right?
Yeah.
I was calling Pete Bomarito. I trained down there. Hey, who can you give me? Right. And just really trying to maximize all my resources. Right. And so I would say for any young kid who's going through any injuries, like, it's always mountains behind mountains.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Right.
And so, and I love that quote, right? Because it's like, you're going to get to the top. It's going to feel good. It's going to feel good for a moment. And then something probably happened again. You got to get to work again. Right. And just, Coach Pete used to always say, like, the performance curve, right? You don't want to be too up. You don't want to be too down. So I've always just tried to just stay even playing. Yeah. Right. And so, man, as you can hear, whether from you guys, my parents, Pete, whoever, man, like, I just put everybody's stuff in my book and I'm like, hey, just focus on that. And just always knowing that, hey, look, you didn't make it this far to make it this far. Mm-hmm. Right. You got some type of talent you could play. Right. It's you believing in yourself. It's you stop trying to please everybody, right, and just play your game. And when I figured that part out, that's when, so to say, all hell broke loose. You know what I mean? Because it was just like, all right, you back, So yeah, man, perseverance, prayer, and just pure focus.
That's good. Yeah, I remember one of the things, because we were locker buddies when he first came in. So I remember you kind of being frustrated. Obviously, being a second round pick, there's high expectations, especially in Miami. It's like, you got a new wave, you and Will, back-to-back draft picks. And I remember, like, when you first injured your groin, I didn't know about the hernia before. I remember you were trying to get back and rush. And and one of the things I remember saying is, like, don't rush it. Like, you're going to play. I remember telling you, you're going to play. Don't worry about that. Like, it's not about me trying to keep you off the sideline. If anything, I was in that same position you were my rookie year, where I had guys telling me, take care of your body. Hey, don't worry about you playing and not. They brought you in here because you're going to play, so don't even worry about that. And like I said, I had guys like Jeremiah, I had guys like Benny Sapp, I had guys, even though they're younger than me, Sean, Vontae, those guys were telling me, hey, look, don't worry about if you have a nick or a bruise. Make sure you get that taken care of first, because they look at you as just a number. If you can't play, they're going to find somebody else to come in. And I just remember, just from my experiences, being able to tell you that. And I knew you were frustrated, but I kept trying to remind you all the time, you're a second round pick. You ain't got to worry about getting released, getting cut. Like, you or Will are good. Y'all can, if you wanted to be lazy, you could have been lazy, but you guys didn't. I could see you wanted to get on the field. I saw how you were itching to get back out in practice, and you could just see coaches, players, even reporters, all that stuff that you didn't let affect you, and you just kept staying at it. And I know when I left, still watching you both, especially you, just to see how you developed and overcame it, especially when, now I'm gone, it's like, hey, Jamar's got the spot now. And obviously, since that time, you got traded, and you got traded again. Kind of talk about that from a mental perspective, because you're with the team, and then all of a sudden, hey, you're traded to the Cleveland Browns. And then all of a sudden it's, hey, now you're traded to Arizona. Like, take me through that thought process of thinking that you're, I don't want to say comfortable, but you're in a position where you're getting established, and then all of a sudden you get established, and then it's like, boom, you're off to the next, almost similar to what life throws at you. So talk to me about that a little bit, how your mindset was from just going to these different teams.
Yeah, I would say, man, the Miami stuff, I kind of got a feeling, right? But it was mutual. I would say that, which a lot of people don't even know that, right? Like, everybody's like, oh, you traded you, like, you should feel. I'm like, no, like, I walked up there. I told Mike Tannenbaum, like, hey, look, I don't want to be here, right? Like, you wasting my time. Like, you know how I am, right? Where I'm like, I'm a straight shooter, and it was one of those things. Like, okay, second year you brought in Court. Right. Loved it. We had a good group. I knew he would be good for me. Right. Like, 'cause I needed that. Right. Like, with them, like, okay, Noah's probably going to be gone. Right. Like, all right, I need somebody to, like, teach me the game of football. Right. Because college breaking down film and stuff is not the same as NFL. Yeah. Right. Shifting motions. Tom Brady's getting into the same plays, different formations. You know what I mean? And so, like, when I had Court, like, I literally took that year, and it was like, I remember him and Ellerby told me, like, hey, look, you can't fail. Yeah. Right. Like, you drafted too high, but Cortland was like, I'm not going to let you go home. And we were in there Wednesday, Thursday, But Monday, Wednesday, Thursday, late, 9 p.m., right, 10 p.m., watching film. And so it was funny because after how it ended in Miami, bro, we were playing the Patriots on a Thursday night. And I had a great game, right? And we had like one cover 5 coverage. And somebody got beat going across the middle by Grunt. But I had a comeback, right? And so Grunt catches it. And I turn, and Grunk is already hauling upfield. Grunk is gone, right? He's full steam ahead. Well, we end up losing, right? Because we ran cover 3 the whole time, 3 match, and they was wearing some of the backers out, right? We was just mismatched. Tom Brady, we're going to keep, you know how he is, we're going to keep base on the field, we're going to roll. Like, I can remember, like, bro, I can see it right now, like, oh, shoot. And I can see Lou over there, like, match. I'm like, oh.
Yeah, exactly.
we you know, and so, but it's crazy, bro, because after that, Mike Tannenbaum came up to me at practice and he said, why didn't you catch Grunk? I was like, what do you mean? He's like, I need you to play better. And Brent, you know, shout out to Brent, man. BG said, JT's been balling, right? Kicking the soccer ball, right? Brent being Brent. JT been balling, man, get off his back. And bro, after that, because we had Bryce McCain, right? So they start sprinkling in Bryce. But then when Bryce got beat, put JT back in the game, right? Then we go play New York, put Bobby McCain in. Start getting beat, right? Let's go put JT back in the game. Same thing when we played Philly, right? And then I come in and I knock out Matthews and like, they're like, oh, are you going to start next game? Like, and so it got to that point in Miami, at least. And I know I'm long winded. I like to give like the whole story, but it was like, I went up there at the end of that year before they hired Vance Joseph and Adam Gase. And I said, hey, look, Adam, I can't play here. Right. Miami's home. I've trained here since after college. I'll probably always come back. I go out. I still go to Miami at least once, twice a year. Right. And especially since Messi's about to be down there, I'm probably going to have to for sure pull up. Right. But the crazy thing about it, I was like, I can't be here. I'm like, look, me and Lou, we didn't see eye to eye. I'm like, since I've been here, only people that have taught me is vets. Right. And I'm like, I don't know what I'm doing wrong. Right. I have a ton of interceptions, but I wasn't getting bombed on. Right. I wasn't giving up a ton of catches either. And so I was winning my targets. Like I had, you know, I whole breakdown. And they told me, oh, you're going to be here, blah, blah, blah. Vance was like, just come to me. Forget Lou. I'm the coordinator. I love the way you play corner. Well, I'm at my bachelor party, getting married in a couple months, shipped me off to Cleveland. So it really, like, when it happened, like, picture, you know, you go out, you wake up, your phone's ringing, answers Mike Tannenbaum, hey, we're trading you to Cleveland. All right. And he's like, I appreciate you. But I already knew the schedule. So I was like, okay, I'll see you week 3. Like, hung up, right? Hung up. And like, and then he also didn't make me give back my playbook or anything. So I was like, oh, I'm about to wear y'all out, right? Like, you gave me all of OTAs to practice with you, you know. And I mean, that game, I killed that game.
I remember
right?
that.
I came out the gate, like, second play, got a pick, right? And so, when I got to Cleveland, though, I would tell you that I thought Cleveland was home, right? Got there. We had Ray Horton as coach, Louis Kofi as our DB coach. Love those guys to death. They brought in Jamie Collins. We had Kersey. They got Joe Antonio to sign back. You know, so it's like they got Kirko to sign back, Christian Kersey sign back, right? And Jamie to sign back. So I'm like, all right, Joe Hayden. So I'm like, all right, like, we're going to build, right? DeMario Davis, right? All pro. So it's like, and that was the talk going into offseason. Like, hey, we just paid you. We're extending you. We're going to extend these guys. You're going to be here. Well, we come back that spring and Ray Horton is fired, right? Louis Kofi is fired. And we had like a top 15 defense, better than, you know, what we thought we were going to be. Cause we didn't have no D line really. Right. And so they bring Greg Williams in and we switched up the whole defense, right? Ran cover 2 a lot. And me and Greg had a lot of talks, loved him. And Greg has a son named Blake. And everybody knows if they ever watch this, Blake is Blake. Right. And so it just came down to it at the end of that year. It was like talking to Dorsey because they fired, you know, another GM. Right. So you got to think Miami too, take you back. Ireland got fired. Right. They bring in Hickey get fired. Right. Joe Philbin get fired. Coyle get fired. Right. So it's like, you know, it's going to be a whole new regiment, right? Regime. You go to Cleveland, Hugh Jackson gets fired, right? Greg gets promoted. Horton gets fired. Lou Kofi gets fired, right? And so after that, I'm kind of like, when they start getting into talk, right? Sashi Brown got fired, right? Andrew, who's back now as the GM, he gets fired. So
they were cleaning house, man.
I'm like, okay, like I'm ending up in this spot where I don't know if we're gonna be rebuilding, right? And so my wife was getting pregnant in Arizona, and my agent's like, hey, look, I think I'm gonna try to get you traded to Arizona. And the first thing I tell him, like, no, like, please, like, it's a new coach, new regime again, bro. Like, I don't want to go through this, like, and so he's like, well, Dorsey says, hey, like, he has to trade you or he has to fire Blake's son. But if he fires Blake's son, Blake's gonna quit, and it's not enough time to find a coordinator.
Dang.
Right. So I'm like, all right. And so they send me to Arizona. They end up trading Jamie Collins. They kept Kirko, right? They paid Joe Sherbert or whatever. They let go of DeMario Davis, right? We traded Joe, right? So it's like, all right, like it is what it is. And then I get to Arizona, bro, and we got new coaches, right? And GM gets in trouble for drinking, right? And then we have a new D coordinator in Al Holcomb, right? And so during the whole summer, bro, we run cover 4, and then Al says our linebackers can't, read coverages. So now you take a press corner, which we're used to doing, and now we're going cover 3 and belling and all of that stuff, bro. And
different.
Same thing that happened in Miami, same thing that happened in Arizona. I had to walk up there. I'm like, hey, look, man, like, and so that's kind of how that happened. But I guess to tell you the mindset of it, when I got traded from Miami, it hurt a little bit because we all think we're going to be in one spot for a long time. Right. But my mindset was, okay, I'm about to put the whole league on notice.
Yep.
And, at least for my time in Cleveland, I felt like I did, and that's where like the name started coming out. It was like, okay, this guy's a hell of a player. And I finally felt comfortable. So when Cleveland had to trade me, I knew it was a business move because they were going to blow everything up, but it didn't hurt as bad, as Miami, because at that point, I already knew it was a business. You talk about year 5 going into year 6. So I knew it was just going to take me to get to my spot to kind of figure it out again. And then once I got to Seattle, I thought that was going to be love, but we didn't play nickel. Right. So now I get bumped inside. We played 3 linebackers, Michael Kendrick, KJ, and Bobby, only until like 3rd and 6 plus. Right. So I'm like, all right. So then Pete kind of goes down that rabbit hole, but then I end up in San Fran, and I'm like, all right, here we go. Right. Like, now you talk about a dude that had moved around. So I'm like, bro, I just need to get on the field. And then when I get to San Fran, it just takes off.
Yeah.
Right, it just takes off. But, I guess to say how all, life kept just throwing curveballs at me. When you in the moment, bro, you don't even think so much about it. It was just like, all right, I got a daughter now. I got a wife now. Right. It's so much more bigger than me.
Yeah.
Right. And then I know who I am as a player. Like, the tape didn't lie. Yeah. So I'm like, I just need to get somewhere. And that was my main focus. Like, get somewhere and dig your claws in and just hold on. Right. Just hold on. Right. And let everybody know that they're going to have to worry about you. Yeah. And, I wasn't able to, I did that in Cleveland for a couple years. Wasn't able to do that for like a year or so, year and a half or so. Then when I got to San Fran, I was able to, but then, toward the ACL.
Yeah.
So, and literally was going to sign back that Monday. So that one hurt a little bit, but all in all, bro, at least I feel like I went out, being myself. Right. And good. So my last game was a hell of a game. So I'm like, at least I didn't go out getting, torched, man, for 100 yards. You know what I mean?
That's good. That's good to hear, because it's like, with all that stuff you're saying, there's guys that go through that and only play really 3 years in the league, and that's it.
Yeah.
And you've been fortunate enough to play 9, to even get to that with all those things going on. I don't think there's many players that dig down that deep to say, look, I'm gonna prove to myself. It's not proving to everybody else. It's just you being able to do it, which you've had that drive, and I think that's admirable. That's something that a lot of people need to understand about you. And kind of want to segue, because now you're at San Fran, you get hurt, and you have to rehab again. You start to understand life after football. You don't accept it just yet, but you start to think, all right, this can't be it. Your hopes and dreams is to get to the top. You're there, you're in it, and then now you're on the other side of it. You're this vet, you're this guy that is now giving the experience to people, but at the same time, you're wondering what it's like with my daughter, with my wife. What are we going to do after, so I can, it's not necessarily about money anymore at that point. It's more about, what is my passion and my purpose going to be? So what I want to ask you is, how was that process when you were rehabbing, when you were after surgery and a couple months go by, you're trying to figure out, what do I want to do after football? Can you explain that to me? Because that is something that a lot of people struggle with, is that transition from one area to another.
Yeah. I think the first, because how it happened, right? Like you go from, I think we were Thanksgiving. My agent was like, hey, we started talking. The talks have opened, right? And then get hurt right before halftime or whatever. So, the first month or so, it was, you kind of like, man, why? You're in the hospital bed, all of that stuff. But then, like, I don't know, bro. Like, I remember watching like that Mamba, like the Mamba documentary on Kobe. And so it was like, I remember him going to the doctor after the Achilles and stuff. And I'm like, they were like, come in. They're like, hey, Jamar, we got to walk today. All right, like, let's walk. We got to bend it today. All right, let's bend. Right. And so what it taught me, or my mindset there, was just like little wins. Right. It goes back to like just little wins. If I can get 90 degrees today, it's better than it was yesterday. If I get 95 the next day. Right. And start celebrating those, because I think as athletes, we don't celebrate our wins enough. And I even rephrase it, as Black men, we don't celebrate our wins enough, right? Because it's always like, I think a lot of our wins get taken away from us, right? It gets highlighted by something else, right? Nolan can get 2 interceptions, but if you play on a team with Carson Wentz and you throw 4 touchdowns, ain't nobody really trip, but no, feel good, right? And so we're not used to that. So it was like, for me, it was like, hey, just enjoy that. Right now, off of the pitch, I would say, I think what really, really helped me was having guys like Caleb, right? And Caleb Thornhill, for a lot of people don't know, he was our player development guy. And Caleb used to always be on me. Hey, join this business combine, do this. And so it wasn't after till I left to Miami, he hooked me up with Ron Brewer, but Ron Brewer was our player development guy in Cleveland. And Ron, he was like, hey, man, it's a real estate seminar, right? Go to it, put on by this guy named Kofi, who's a top realtor in LA. And man, I went out there and it was like 2016. And, so that I kind of knew where I wanted to go, right? And so as I was hurt, I'm sitting here at home once I get home and I'm like, all right, look, babe, I got to do something, right? Like we started investing early in the real estate. I want to say like, 17. I did that seminar, started reading books, right? Like on the way back on the airplane for like the away games, started reading on my off days, right? Reading in the cold tub and stuff. Nice. Got a couple like, went on bought a couple like seminar classes during the off season. So I knew I wanted, we kind of started buying like small multi-family deals. And so I'm like, all right, babe, like we got to do something. And I'm like, man, let's fix and flip. Right. Let's try it. Like we're blessed enough to have a little liquid, right? We can either do this hard money or we can use our own capital. Right. Let's see. Let's just hop in, see if we like it or not. And so it really, I knew I wanted to go in that realm, but it was really looking at my daughter again, right? Playing around me. She was like, 3 at the time, 3.5, and playing around. And I'm like, your kids mimic what you do. Yeah. So if my daughter sees me lazy, sitting on the couch every day, right, just going to rehab, I'm going when she wakes up. I come back, it's 11, 12 o'clock, and we just sit on the couch all day. I'm on the CPM machine. I'm like, then she's going to being lazy. Yeah. Right. And I'm like, I can't have that. So, it was like, all right, got to get up. And so we started fixing and flipping. And then I'm like, looking, I'm like, I'm going to take the middleman out. I'm going to start studying for my license, right? Keep that 3%. We could put that towards a property, or I'll put that back in my pocket. Facts. And so then that's kind of where the mindset took me, right? We were blessed and fortunate enough. My best friend, Theron Wilburn, we call him Bo. He approached me 2 years before I was done playing. And I was always giving back to the city of San Diego through like youth sports camps, right? Everybody does it. We already did like, back to school drive. And he was like, man, look, we got to put a nonprofit behind this, right? It won't be feasible in the long run. And so, that was already started up, man. And when I got hurt, we just started putting more eggs in that basket as well, man. So the mindset really was, hey, you already have a passion for something, right? Get up and do it, right? So you can lead your daughter in the direction you want her to go. Nice. Right. And that's that, hey, dad is going to get after it for us. Like you said, football was never about going back, was never trying to prove to anybody. It was proving to myself. I wanted to show her too. You just don't give up on your dreams. right? And then now the message is like, hey, sometimes it don't work out, but what you gonna do?
Yep.
Right? You got to pivot. And it's a ton of ways, right? It's a ton of ways. And, real estate and my nonprofit has been those ways to give me that jump in the morning, right? When my feet touch the ground, I'm excited.
There we go. Yeah, that's that vision. You're building that legacy as well. A lot of people don't understand that nowadays. It's always about the quick money, but really when it comes down to it, when you are building something, it takes time, and you're looking, like we talked before we got on, 5, 10, 15, 20 years down the road to where it's now your kids that have it, that have that opportunity that you didn't have, or at least you're teaching them the skills that you wish you had when you were young. And, I want to get into that. First Chance U. That's something that when I saw you do it at first, I got what you were trying to do. And that's really giving back to the community and allowing others to get that experience that you have in those years that you played football in college and in the NFL, and understanding how those things relate to life. And I think there's, from what I see with what we're doing with our college, it's just a big gap between the education on how to coach and how to teach. I think people get confused so much. I'm a coach now, I can talk to the guys however way, or this is going to work and it's only my way or the highway. But from the coaches that you've had, what you like, what you don't like, what you respond to, what you didn't respond to, and you've been able to form this to where you're able to help athletes, you're able to help coaches. And I just want you to expand a little bit more on what you're setting out to do with First Chance U, and how that is not only helping the kids, but it's also helping the coaches and helping that whole community grow within the realm of sports, football more particularly.
Okay, yeah. I mean, First Chance U, we aim to give back through education, right? Sport and community giving, right? That's our pitch, right? And what we mean by that, you're going to still get the overall things of regular nonprofits, right? We do scholarship giveaways in 4 cities, right? So we do Seattle, San Francisco, Arizona, and San Diego. Okay. Right. So that's because our board is spread across. It just so happened Seattle in the Bay just had a special place in my heart, right? From when I played there, but we have members there. Now on the football piece, it's the question, right, of the parents, I guess now parents, right? Or the parents that grew up with our parents who have young kids. It's like, what do we do? Yeah. Right. And the single moms. And so, when we're doing our youth camp, we always got like, hey, so what's next? Right. I got this recruiter coming and talk to me, and he's saying if I pay him X amount of money, right. And sports are way more competitive these days. Like probably like you, like we ran track, and then we went to go play basketball, and then we went to go play football. Right. And then it's like, but now kids, I mean, it's all year long. They getting recruited, right? They get money early. And so Theron and myself were like looking at each other, was like, man, we should do an academy. And it started off with like a financial literacy seminar. And we had like 15 kids pop up, parents like they need to be in here. Right. And we're like, now we got to make this better. Right. How can we emerge sport? Right. So that's when we kind of wrapped in with our DB Academy. And what we're trying to do there is basically, like I said previously, is raise young men. Right. That's the overall goal. Right. But not only that, it's also helping the families. Now, we do a coaching clinic, and during our coaching clinic, it's basically a submerge in a networking of coaches, right? Talk about coaching styles, philosophies, how to get your guys to run through a brick wall. What Kyle Shanahan does is not the same thing that Pete Carroll does, right? Like how do you get in a kid's psyche, right? But then as a high school coach, how do you compete against a 7-on-7 coach, right? Or why do you guys even think that you're competing? Right? Use each other as an extension, right? Okay, hey, you're training my kids Monday through Friday for the spring, or Monday through Saturday or whatever for the spring. But then when it's summertime, what have you coached on so I can make my kid better? Right. So like our coaching clinic is basically like a lot of talking, because in San Diego in particular, it's a headbutt. Right? Crabs out the barrel. It's no, I don't want to talk to you. No, you take I don't want my kids to play there. I don't even want them to come to your camp. Why they gonna come to your camp? You know what I mean? And it's like, no, man. Like the goal is the kid. Yeah, exactly. Right. We can never lose track of that. The goal is the kid. Right. And the quicker way we know that, when we notice that, right, and have a good philosophy, the kid is going to be easy to coach. Right. But if you got this coach saying one thing, you got this coach saying another thing, right, then the kid is always going to go do his own thing. And that's where we talking about like yelling. That's where it gets a little tricky.
Yeah.
Right. I do hit on our coaching clinic before I get into the DB camp. I know I kind of backtrack, but when I hit on, and I always tell coaches this, it's completely different. Greg Williams was a yeller. He'll MF you to death, right? He was just on the pivot, right? Greg is crazy. Love him to death, though, right? And it didn't bother me because Pop Warner, I got yelled at.
Yeah.
Right? But for another kid who's maybe a little bit more timid, a little bit more quiet, or has that parent yelling at them all the time, you probably got to just hype him up. Like I train kids right now in my community, right? And we just go in the morning. I got one kid, man, his dad out there, why can't you catch the ball? Right? I come to the kid like, hey, man, you know what I used to do when my dad yelled? What? I think about my favorite song. Right? Now that kid, he just hums the whole time and catches every ball now. Right? It's like he doesn't take yelling, right? He needs more encouraging.
Yeah.
Right? He needs a more encouraging slow. And now I get it. You can't do that when you're going. Right? But sometimes you just, every kid is different, right? Every kid can't do the same technique, right? And so we talk about that a lot with our stuff, but we let the big dogs kind of handle that. How do you coach Fred Warner compared to how you coach Nick Bosa?
Yeah.
Right. Nick is more chill. Fred is an energy guy, right? It's two different things. And so our coaching clinic, it's a lot of collaboration, a lot of answering questions, but then they also get on the board and do film.
Nice.
Where my DB Academy comes in is we hit on everything, right? We hit on everything. We go 3 days. And it's first day on field, right? Get on field. I don't care if you're 5-star, 4-star, 3-star. Everybody's a 1-star here, right? It don't matter. I don't want to see your tape. I don't want to see your huddle. What I want to see is you guys going to field, you're going to cover, and we're going to tape it.
Yep.
Right? After that, guys come in, they tell their story, right? Guys like you, whoever, right? They come tell their story. And then we get into financial literacy, right? And then that first day, I'm like, hey, look, the homework is this. You guys go home and I need at least 2 pages of what your 5-year plan looks like. It's family, that's health, that's school, that's financially, right? And that's goals, right? If that's NFL, you be in the NFL for 3 years, cool. If it's I'm gonna be a CEO of Fortune 500 company, cool. Right? Next day, again, we come back, we watch the film, get on field, it's press or off, depending on what we want to do. We do one-ons again. And then when we come back that day, now we're talking about mental health, coping with anxiety, right? And we talk about NIL stuff, right? But now when we do the NIL stuff, this is where we get a little tricky. We bring family. I need the parents there. I need 100% commitment. If parents can't be there, your kid can't be in.
Yeah.
Right? I'm asking 2 days from the parents for 30 minutes. Right? You got to give me an hour. That's right? Good. Basically at the end of the day. Right, because the parent needs to know, because we had a kid that goes to Oklahoma, his dad signed a contract. Well, then his dad took most of the money, right? Didn't know what the contract said. Then his mom got taxed because he's on his mom's taxes. Right, so we need parents there to get the knowledge, right? And so we bring somebody from college, from Boise or USC to come talk strictly on NILs, right? And then the next day, film again, field, no receivers though. And then after that, we do yoga, right? Teach them how to low-key try to meditate. A lot of guys are goofy, but try to get them to like learn how to take care of their bodies, right? A little cold tub, things of that nature. And then we come back. Well, now that 5-year plan, you have to sit down with your parent, right? And we make every kid call up, what's your 5-year plan? Right? Nolan, what's yours? Hey, what's yours? Okay, mom, you heard that, right? So now when Jamar wants to go out and hang out with his friends, but he said he's going to have a 3.0, right? Make him remember this. Or he says, I don't want to work out today. Make him remember this. So it naturally becomes accountability partner, right? In that realm. And then the parent, because sometimes the parent doesn't know the kid wants to make it to the NFL or wants to be a veterinarian, right? Parents like, my kid's going to go to the league. What if Johnny doesn't want to go to the league? What if he just loved to just play football right now? Yeah. Right. And so it opens up that dialogue and that conversation. And then at the end, right? We do all the awards and stuff, but it naturally just builds a mentorship, which I'm all about, right? So now the parents they feel good. They can call me or my friend Theron or anybody, any professional that we bring, email us or call us. We're accessible to you, right? And we can help you through the process,
Nice.
Whether it's applying for scholarships, whether it's, going on visits, right? Questions to ask coaches, right? What college should we go to? Weighing out options. Should my kid transfer? He goes to Notre Dame. Now he wants to go to Oklahoma. Whatever it does, it just builds a natural mentorship. So that's kind of what we've been doing with First Chance U. We like that realm, right? We like that realm. Yeah, bro. And it's selective, right? It's selective, but not on just the kid, but on the parent, right? On the parent. And we get some kids where like, my parent's not involved. Well, okay, then I got to be more hands-on with you. I'm going to, me or somebody from my nonprofit is going to be that guy for you or that girl for you, right? So that you can lean on. So you just never feel alone, because some of these kids do feel alone.
Yeah, no, it's man, I like what you're doing. Honestly, the fact that you're giving that accountability to the kid and the parent, because a lot of these households are broken, as you've seen. You see a lot of kids that come in, like you just said, they don't have either parent. They have one parent. They got a grandparent that's raising them, and the kid just doesn't know. He's influenced by the wrong thing. So what you're doing is big. And I mean, like, shoot, man, you never really see it until 10 years down the road, whether he's a first round pick or whether he's working in corporate or, he's just being better in society, whether the stuff that you're teaching him, he's teaching another kid. So definitely taking the time out to do that. I commend you for it, because there's not a lot of people, not a lot of players that are doing that. So, man, I appreciate you coming on. Conversation with Carroll.
Thank you.
Everybody follow Jamar Taylor SD_SD, right? On Instagram. You go on First Chance U. I don't think you have your real estate page, but you're always talking about real estate.
Yeah, it's Jamar Taylor _EXP.
EXP. Okay, guys, go on that. He talks about real estate, different things about real estate. But Jamar, I appreciate you coming on, man. I've been following you for a long time. I'm a fan of what you're doing, and continue to do it, bro.
Likewise, bro. Likewise, man. Proud of you, and thank you for having me.
Appreciate it.